Today, we are going to study the rhetorical situation. This information is foundational to everything you will do this semester. Writing is a process that requires some exploration before you even start to write. Before you ever open that Word file, before you start your research, before you begin that outline, you should understand rhetoric and the rhetorical situation. The foundation of all communication lies in the idea of rhetoric. Today, rhetoric has a negative connotation, suggesting empty communication that is designed only to manipulate. In the academic realm, however, rhetoric has a deeper meaning. Many definitions for rhetoric exist, but the most commonly used definition comes from Aristotle, who defined rhetoric as the available means of persuasion. All communication is rhetoric, therefore all communication has elements of persuasion. When we talk about persuasion in this setting, we are not talking about overt persuasion specifically, such as a lawyer or politicians use, though that is included in our idea of rhetoric. In technical writing, we study a subtler form of persuasion. In this case, rather than changing your mind, persuasion affects your worldview. It affects how you see the world. For instance, if we use the word turn rather than the word veer, that subtly changes how you view the action. If we say cat, any old cat will do. If we say the cat, we are discussing a particular cat. Something as little as an article, such as a and the, can change how we see the situation. All language and communication, therefore, ends up being persuasion, which means that all language and communication is rhetoric. The first thing to do when planning any form of communication is to think about your audience. Consider it. You talk to your family differently than you talk to your coworkers, differently than you talk to your friends. Your audience will determine the words that you use and how you use them. Each audience has characteristics. These characteristics give the authors clues how to communicate with that particular audience. These characteristics include, but are not limited to, sex and gender, culture, which includes race and microcultures, age, and age in relation to the writer, education, reading level, language, job function, skills and training, background knowledge, values, ideals, and priorities, needs and interests. One nursing professor uses a great example. When speaking to a child, a nurse would use the word pee. When speaking to an adult, a nurse would use the word urinate. When speaking to a fellow healthcare professional, a nurse uses the word micturate. All of these are valid words describing the same biological function. However, using the appropriate word for the appropriate audience is vital. In your case, you would write differently for an academic audience than you would write for a technical or scientific audience. You want to analyze your audience before you begin to write. The better you know your audience, the more likely you will succeed in your communication. If you will consciously consider each of these areas and then try to appeal to those characteristics of your audience will have an easier time understanding your message.